So when you're writing a scene, we're looking at how we can get down to the emotional quality fairly quick. And the reason that speed is a factor here is that if you're working on a professional film, you don't have a lot of time. You can hear horror stories about this all the time from film composers, but a lot of the times you'll have like a week to score, a full 2-hour film. On independent pictures, you get a lot more flexibility usually, but the film scoring process is the last thing that happens in the film, just about the last thing that happens in a film. So the film's done, there's an opening day scheduled, everything's ready to go, they just need you to put the music in it. A lot of times we have to work really fast, so that's when music theory can really help us out. Let's talk about genre. Let's say you're in a scene, you're working on a cue that has, it's kind of Great Gatsby era, so like 1930s, 40s. What are you going to do? Well, first of all, you need instruments that are appropriate and a genre that is appropriate. So if you're in the 30s and 40s, you're probably going to use jazz. You're going to use big band, trumpets, trombones, saxophones, drums, bass, piano, maybe guitar. But if it's guitar, it's just strumming guitar. It's not really going to be a solo, probably. That was pretty rare back then. The guitar was actually kind of a rhythm instrument back then, a percussion instrument in a way. Anyway, a whole different topic. What are you going to use for chords? Well, if you're writing jazz and you're writing theory, you're going to use a lot of 7th chords. You're going to use some 9th chords. You might even use 13th chords. You're going to stick to your diatonic chord progressions pretty religiously, meaning you're going to let those diminished and augmented chords get in there. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, review some of the music theory classes that I've given you. On this site, I have more classes that are on music theory. I'm kind of assuming you already know a bit about music theory as we go forward, which is why I'm saying things like diatonic chord progressions in 7th, 9th, and 13th chords. You would do best, if you really want to get into music theory, you got to know those things and the rest of music theory that we're going to talk about shortly. Let's say you're in a scene that happens in the 90s and it's a kind of dirty club scene or something like that. You're going to want to use like guitars, a rock band feel. You're going to lean on 5th chords for that. That's just a root and a 5th. And you're going to have a lot of parallels there. So parallelism means like an F, a C, and a C, and then a G and a D, just going up and down on that 5th chord. That's guitar stuff. A lot of 5th chords. So we always think about the genre that fits. And then what do we know about the music theory in that genre? We know with jazz, we like 7th, 9th, and 13th chords. That sounds good for that. In guitar, we like 5th chords. What if it's like Caribbean or something like that, and you want this reggae sound? What is the music theory of the reggae sound? Well, you could kind of sum that up with simple triads, major and minor triads, hit on the offbeats. That gives us that kind of reggae sound. And there's a lot more than just that. You can look up very easily the kind of characteristics of whatever genre you're working in. So if you're working on something and it needs to have a certain sound, you can find it just by looking around on the internet pretty quickly. Just search for music theory characteristics of insert genre name here. So I won't go over all of them with you here, but remember that that's one thing that we think about right away. We think about what is the genre of this cue or the whole movie in some cases, and what instruments and harmonic ideas, meaning music theory, can I use to make the scene work. Now, there's one other thing I want to point out here, and that's modes. Modes can be really important here because modes can really kind of set the emotion up, and you can use modes from scene to scene. So let's jump to a new video real quick, and let's talk about modes again.